Greetings, fellow Prog Noggins. This is Bleeding Edge. Welcome. I am Dave. Thanks for joining me. So, I did this once last week, and I think I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing as much as possible. But if you're into Prog and you don't already check it out, I think you probably would enjoy a feature on Prog Magazine's website. It's Cool New Prog Tracks of the Week. I enjoy it. It's a good way for me to find new stuff that I don't know of because they feature a lot of lesser known performers and artists. Of course, they also hit the biggies, the ones that are well known. So that's fun, but it's a good way for me to keep up and decide, heck, what I want to listen to, what I want to add as far as the playlist on The Expanse, my online prog-oriented radio station on Live 365. If you haven't checked it out, do so. There's a link in the description below to look for that. But it's a fun way for me to pick up new things. Now, this will be my second time doing this, and let me tell you, this is a copyright claim generating machine, this little endeavor. So please, if you enjoy this, let me know. If you don't think this is fun, let me know too. I'm going to see. I'm going to gauge response after I do this for a month and see if it is worth suffering the slings and arrows of the various record labels that want to tag me for using this stuff. Normally, it should be fine if I claim it under fair use. If YouTube and the labels are treating fair use as it's meant to be, because this is literally a reaction video. So it'd be awesome if they could do that. So far, they seem disinclined to do so. I don't care if it's demonetized. That's fine. I'm not making any money at the moment anyway. Just don't give me copyright strikes, guys. Allow me to preview, review, comment on your music without hassling me too much. All right? That'd be cool. Meanwhile, as of course part of the Prog Tracks of the Week system is that you usually get 6 or 7 new tracks. And of course, at the end, the feature allows the viewers, the readers, to vote on their favorite and to see where it lands. I'm going to vote on mine, and whatever one I vote on is the one I'm going to listen to and react to in entirety. That being said, there's one already on there that probably could very much be a front runner for my favorite, but I'm not going to react to it entirely because it's a 19-minute track. Sorry, Crown Lands. We'll do the preview part, but I don't know that I'm going to go in for a 19-minute reaction. That just feels like, I feel like this ran as long as it needed to last time, maybe longer. I don't need to make a 19-minute song reaction part of it. I know. Sorry, I'm gatekeeping ever so slightly there. Deal with it. Don't worry, you'll get the ad on The Expanse. Folks will get to hear the song. It'll get there. So anyway, let's start with that because that is the first one that they list on there, the good folks at Prog Magazine. Matter of fact, making note that, this is the new single, and it is them totally approaching it in a very progressive rock-oriented fuck you to radio stations. We know you're not going to play our music anyway, so what do I care if my single is short enough to be on the radio? Yeah, that's what I said. So commercial radio is not playing it. That's fine. Whatever. Meanwhile, they're continuing. For those that didn't know, the last album, or last, I think, dual EPs, Ritual 1 and 2, were written to be part of this. This is a continuation of that story, which started back in times of peace and basically, I guess, almost maybe prehistoric times. Those albums are very interesting in the sense that they are all, I guess, what one might call indigenous people's music from the Americas, Native American music, whatever you would like to call it. So it's interesting. It's a bit esoteric. It is not what you would call prog rock, but it is certainly them showing a bit of chutzpah that they would release something along those lines that is very, very different from what you've heard from them before. And of course, they have very much a Rush-inspired sound, a 70s Rush-inspired sound. That's their style. And that music is not that. But, check it out. You never know. You might enjoy it more so than you expect. Meanwhile, that leads into what, if I understand I'm reading correctly here, the new album Fearless. And this is the first song from that, or maybe a single released independently. It's a long single, but it's called Apocalypse and brings us more to the present day. And, from times of peace to, they don't describe the present day, but maybe the song title does, which is spooky. Anyway, let's get listening to this. Crown Lands, Apocalypse. given that it's 19 minutes long, I might have to skip further into it because it could be a very long introduction. Got a bit of a Cygnus X1 feel here. Not mentioned at the beginning of this video is my preview for each song. Usually it's going to be about a minute to a minute and a half. As I noted, this is the 19-minute song, so it's rather long. Minute and a half into it, we have only just gotten a taste. So I'm going to skip ahead a couple portions and, get a little bit of extra taste so you guys can also make your own decisions. You can play along at home and vote for yourself. Of course, I would recommend going to Prog Magazine's page to do this and voting on there. I will include a link to that in the description. Yeah, that sounds suitably epic. That sounds suitably epic in terms of a 19-minute song and everything it deserves there. So I think we're gonna definitely listen to that later, but I'm not going to do a song reaction to that now. It's a shame because it does sound very, very impressive. All right, moving on. The next on the list would be Major Parkinson. Now, this is a band I'm not familiar with. They're Norwegian, described as art rockers. New album's coming out March 13th. That's going to be called Velesa, Chapter 2, Viva the Apocalypse. Okay, we seem to have a theme going on here this week. Is there something I need to know? Anyway, but obviously, of course, it's a follow-up to the last album, Velesa, Chapter 1, Velvet Prison. So, interesting. And I'm amused by the title Super Dad. It makes me think that it is going to be exactly as quirky as it's described here and mentioned it's horn-laden. So, let's check this out. Super Dad. And this comes from Major Parkinson.
said it's gonna change the course of history. It's gonna get a super dad vasectomy. Inquisition, genocide, and sodomy.
Okay, that voice was unexpected. Everything else up to it was very, very cool. I was digging the kind of funky vibe they had gone on there, and the use of horns was, in my mind, reminiscent of Oingo Boingo in the 80s, late 80s mostly. And yeah, pretty cool stuff. I dug the groove they had going on there. The voice threw me off because that's I'm going to forget the band's name at the particular moment here, but you know the song I'm talking about. I'm just blanking on their title or their band name. Jeez, Louise, Dave, you know how to talk, don't you? Anyway, I'm thrown off because I'm trying to think of it while I'm talking. My brain can't handle that. So anyway, pretty cool. I kind of dig it, but the voice really threw me off, and I wasn't quite sure at first I was hearing English. I think I was by the end. I was having a little just on me, a little trouble with it. I should be doing this with headphones, and I did not start that way, and I'm not going to restart. So, think about that next time, Dave. So I'm being careful with my microphone here to try and make sure I'm not getting any music looping back in. Anyway, I dig that. That's very interesting, and I'll be curious to see where that goes at some point in time. I definitely will listen to it all the way through at some point, but whether it's my song I choose for the week, I don't know. All right, anyway, moving on. System 7. This is another band I am not familiar with. It appears to be a duo. First new music in 11 years. Well, that's probably part of the reason that I haven't heard of them before. It's they don't put out a lot of music. So we get the title track here. The album comes out April 17th. And the song is entitled Flower of Life, and apparently has something to do with pre-Gong work as a movie editor and actress. So I'm not sure what's happening here. Is Gong involved in this as well? I don't know. So here we go. System 7, Flower of Life. Let's check it out. All right. So we've been cock-blocked. We've been cock-blocked on System 7. As you can see, the video unavailable. Yeah. Meanwhile, we'll move on. Godsticks, MIA. The upcoming album is called Void. Comes out March 27th. And this one has a lot to do with the inner critic, the inner monologue, a little bit psychological in its orientation. So let's go ahead and get that started. Godsticks, MIA. All right, so there, Godsticks. You'll take note if you haven't already noticed yourself, if you can see it up there. Apparently, writing this song was rather difficult for the band, and there was at some point in time where they were struggling, I guess, with the arrangements. So Get the member who was responsible for that, I missed his name, Darren Charles, basically telling himself to F off because, you know, quit writing this stuff so tough. Anyway, meanwhile, what we've got here is rather Meshuggah inspired, angular, gent music. Pretty cool, pretty much dig it. And it's got a, half decent hook, I think, and all that. But it's pretty interesting. Not sure if it's my favorite at the moment so far, but it's been an interesting week. So again, having eliminated Crown Lands from the running just because I don't want to commit to doing a 19-minute song reaction, this one is it's got potential there. So kind of dig it. It fits in nicely with Godstick's prior work, but just again a little bit more upfront with the gent Meshuggah influence. Next, we've got what I can only figure is Mirkur, which reminds me of a German-built Ford in the 80s. Look it up. It's not spelled the same, but look it up. But I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. But she's described as a Danish atmospheric rocker. So I don't know if Mirkur is her name or if it's a project name and she's operating underneath it. I don't know. Up for Denmark's Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, the winner of which will represent Denmark. Oh, I see. Okay. So she apparently is making some waves in Denmark. So cool. That's pretty nice. I like to hear something going on where people with a prog orientation are getting attention in something that might be considered a little bit of more of a mainstream type of venue. I like that. So let's see what happens here. This is Mirkur. Touch my... I just read the title. Touch my love and die. Well, I mean, you don't have to if you get a shot. Holy crap. Oh, between Apocalypse and this, it's a fascinating week that Prog Magazine has assembled here. All right, moving on. Mirkur, Touch My Love and Die. Coming up just a little bit short on the in it for a minute to win it standard of getting the hook in quickly on a song that is only 3 minutes. So she got about halfway through the song before the chorus was completed. I like it. It's nice. It's melodic. It's grand. It is, I probably would describe more along the lines of symphonic metal than I would prog. But I've always found those two genres to be a little bit on the adjacent side of things with their grand concepts and frequency of storytelling, narrative albums, and production and musicianship is usually rather high level. But symphonic metal is usually a little more straightforward in its arrangement, not quite as complex and sometimes precious as prog can get. So I dig it. I enjoy it. It's not always my favorite, but it's not something I dislike as far as a genre goes. But I like that song. She's got a great voice. I enjoy her voice. Fits in there nicely. It's not the higher level. It's not the more operatic things you might have gotten with Tarja. Tarja gets a little operatic in her delivery for my taste. I don't dig the operatic style of vocals that much. So, all right, but that's pretty cool. I can dig that. Moving on, Koyo Bloom. At least I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm kind of surprised to see that apparently they're described as UK alt proggers. Uh, I don't know Koyo 2.0. I'm a little confused whether what they're called at that point. But I almost thought for a moment they're Koyo, where it made me think of something Japanese. So I'm surprised to see that they are UK. So we'll see what's going on here. Creative songwriting, blend of prog, classic rock, more indie-leaning ideas. All right, so let's see what that turns out to be. So the title of this song is Attention. And again, here we go. Koyo Bloom. This reminds me of John Mayer, how it starts out.
Don't wanna hurt you, still best friend. Even though we're past the point of fighting off the end, life is moving on in its own peculiar way. You're catching my attention again and again. Only way through this is to try to numb the pain. I don't think this feeling will ever truly fade. No, I'm not the one who see you every day, catching my attention again and again. Again and again. Again and again. Again and again.
Interesting. I don't know if anybody else is getting a kind of Radiohead vibe out of that. I am, certainly at the moment, but pretty cool. I like the mellow part of it. I like the fact that it's not, it's more atmospheric than it is complex. So I see where the description fits. It's got definitely a little bit of an indie feel to it. It's not overproduced or anything like that. I feel like they left some of the edges, rough edges in there, light as they may be. So I do like that. I'm not sure I'm going to land because they have, this grouping has given me a bit of a decision-making quandary. As I mentioned, I excluded Crown Lands because I'm not committing to a full song reaction to that. System 7 have excluded themselves by the fact that the video apparently is not available, and I'm not going to go searching for it at this particular moment. So I think for the moment, for me, I have it down to 2. Which one intrigues me the most? Which one do I feel like I want to dig into the most? I think I am going to go with, drum roll please, Major Parkinson, Superdad. And I am exactly counter to what everybody else is doing. But then again, had I just voted for the one I wanted most, it would be Crown Lands. So truthfully, I would have been in the top 2 in terms of my being in line with the other readers. I'm kind of impressed Godsticks is ranking as high as it is because I feel like this forum has tended to shy away a little bit from the prog metal stuff, especially more gent-oriented stuff. At least the times when I vote for it, they don't go that way. So good for them. But meanwhile, I have clearly gone for the one that is of least interest to anybody else at the moment. Anyway, things could change. I'm not sure how anybody's voting for System 7 unless they've hunted that down themselves. I'm not sure why the video's not available. Maybe people like silence and they're voting for that. I don't know. But here I go, once again, counter to the overall the overall group of people. And I'm going to dig into Major Parkinson here. So let's see what I think of that. We're going to restart that here and go from there. So here we go. Major Parkinson, Superdad, from the upcoming album Valesa, Chapter 2, Viva the Apocalypse. Buckle up. It's interesting because I don't think I quite heard it that way the first time when I did the first minute and a half, but the keys at this point in time have a very kind of 80s vibe. Uh, I like that. I feel like it's the second week in a row I've been pulled in by something with that 80s vibe. Maybe the word is nostalgia, Dave. It doesn't begin with an M. My nostalgia bug has gotten a hold of me this month, maybe.
Kid is gonna change the course of history. He's gonna get a super dad vasectomy. Inquisition, genocide, and sodomy. I'm gonna get a super dad vasectomy. The world is on fire. 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 Baby's gonna take me to the lavatory. She's talking about the Heisenberg uncertainty. Oh, if heaven is a brazen full of misery, I'm gonna get a super dad vasectomy. Oh, the customized the sexual experience. Oh, the sacrifice, it really ain't that serious.
I will say I enjoy the addition of, I guess we'll call that a chorus, the addition of the female vocals as a change up from those really deep Crash Test Dummies. There, got the band name out of my head. Crash Test Dummies level bass vocals. They're like super deep and put me in mind of, that briefly notable band in the 90s. So I dig the female vocals as a counterpoint there.
Little Miss Sunshine came to this world in shades of linen, a mama's girl who rocks the cradle, never says a word. She grew up hungry, she grew up fast, lightning crashes out of the past. Little Miss Sunshine, she was always a dreamer. 5 cents a misery, bring it out with Lord. Punish for poverty, peasants do what they're told. Goodbye democracy, traded in for a four. Collective history, now have you seen the prize of gold? Out of the suburbs, over the plains, city by city, they all look the same.
Wait, is this a third vocalist in here or the same vocalist singing in a different register? I don't know. Wait, another layer is added to the song and keeps it interesting 4 minutes in.
Wasted in wishes, what she became. Great expectations, buried her name. went too far.
Well, that was definitely interesting. That seems to be a song that meets in the intersection between Oingo Boingo quirkiness, Frank Zappa weirdness, uh, Steely Dan or Hats Off Gentlemen, its adequate level observational intellectualism, and just a hint of moron police mania. So that is, I actually found that kind of cool. I dug that. Is it a playlist thing that I'd be listening to in the car? Maybe. It does certainly intrigue me enough to want to listen to more of their work. I recognize that for a lot of people, I think those vocals might be a little bit of an acquired taste. They might be a little off-putting at first because it is kind of oddly deep and the delivery is kind of interesting and choppy enough to make it difficult to understand the words at first. But it really kind of throws one off. It's very unexpected, but I like the fact that they've got multiple vocalists, or at least, well, certainly multiple vocalists, no matter how you dice it. I don't know how many, because I don't know if the one person's singing in a very deep register and then singing in the higher register, or two people singing very differently. Probably is the latter, but I don't know. I had to look that up. But if you read the description too as well, like this is high-level thinking stuff here. This is really deep, intellectualized type of prog, and I dig it. It's, again, it is quirky. It is unusual. It's got a weird blend of tastes, none of which are very traditional in terms of prog, but in many ways I like that. So I rather enjoyed this. I'm surprised more people didn't. I'm also wondering how many of them didn't listen all the way through before they voted, because maybe they didn't make it through the first minute and a half to 2 minutes because they were thrown off by the vocals. That I don't know. That I can't answer. All I can say is, for those of you here, hey, go have some fun. Go check out the Prog tracks of the week. Listen to all of them all the way through as much as you can. You might have to search out System 7 on your own because, I don't know, video disappeared. Go figure. And do that. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed this stuff, let me know. Comment, please. Tell me. A thumbs up is helpful. If I get a lot of those, I say then maybe it means people are enjoying this. Tell me whether I should continue. Tell me whether you don't enjoy this, and maybe I could maybe look into other things. Maybe you would prefer simple one-song reaction videos, especially ones that maybe are not quite focused so much on bands that are lesser known. I hear you. I can understand if that's the desire. Subscribe, take a moment if you could. Throw me a like if you wouldn't mind. Doesn't take long, doesn't hurt. Appreciate it. So, until next time, hang loose, never fear to deviate from the norm, and as always, keep it proggy.